Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another unboxing for Zombicide 2nd Edition. This is the Presidential Box Survivor Pack. This was part of the 2nd Edition Kickstarter campaign. So this was a Kickstarter exclusive. I do not have the actual physical box, which is why I'm holding up a picture of it. But as you can see, we're going to get 6 different presidents from over there. So of course, it is United States presidents, if anyone needs to know that. That being said, right off the bat, I'm going to say I'm not going to get into any political stuff about whether you think about one of these people in real life, one way or the other. I'm only going to look at their gameplay things and kind of point out maybe some of that. Maybe I might reference something to like how they are publicly, but I'm not giving opinions directly on one way or the other. Politics, all that stuff's out. If you comment on my videos, hey, I like this card, that character's cool, that's fine. Even if you're like, I hate that character, I don't like that how they play, that's okay too. But I will immediately block and whatever. I'll delete your comments from my YouTube channel if you start doing political stuff. So I know some people don't like some of these particular people on here. I don't want you posting, I hate this person, that person's terrible. This is nothing. This is a board game. You can play these characters just as different characters. If you don't like them, don't watch this video. Don't buy this set. It's easy enough to avoid. Alright, that's all I'm going to talk about. Just my one disclaimer. I'm not going to deal with political and hate talk or on this stuff. Alright, let's jump in and see what we got for our different characters. We're going to start off with good old Honest Abe. So what they did was really interesting with these is they call themselves, obviously because I always try and use homage in their Kickstarter exclusive stuffs. That's what they're doing. They're obviously homaging these various presidents, but they couldn't put down their specific names. And so, so they just linked them as being president number 16. All of the presidents have a special ability, which has this little trigger at the top. And it's the Pocus ability. This lets them, once per turn, not once per turn, once per game, they can activate that by flipping their card over, which basically gives them the Molotov cocktail ability in one specific area, in whichever area they're standing in, or is it adjacent area. After being adjacent area, if it's in their area, they would just kill themselves, wouldn't they? I was trying to see, because I know there's the president in the one White House scenario in the campaign book. I was trying to see if they had that ability listed on here, but I don't seem to be finding it. KO, Survivor, important. Special rules, tanks, campaign rules. Yeah, I thought the president had a way to use it during the campaign ability too, but I don't see it listed anywhere, so maybe I'm just imagining, maybe it's like a one-time skill. So yeah, what you can do is you can flip these cards over. Now it shows the button has been pressed, but basically lets them activate a free Molotov cocktail on any space on the board, I believe is what it is. It's like them pushing the red button, which drops nukes or sends missiles out. So it's kind of a fun ability, is they just have a one-time do whatever. This Abe Lincoln, of course, has a little bit of a vibe of Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter going for him. Let's look at his abilities. So in blue, we have one free combat action. So right off the bat, he gets an extra attack or melee action. Yellow is his +1 action. In orange, he has Blitz, which will let him spend 1 action point to move up to 2 spaces into a space with a zombie and get a free attack. So he gets a move attack for free, or a move attack combined, not for free. It costs 1 action. And then he has Hit and Run. Hit and Run is if you take out at least 1 zombie, you get a free move action. So as long as you can use it to like clear out the last zombie in the area and get a free move to get closer to the next group. Or you can use it the other direction, is take out one zombie. I'm not going to be able to take out anymore, and use it as a runaway option. So it's a fun little ability there. In red, we have +1 guy combat, +1 dice roll for melee, and +1 dice roll to ranged. So he's pretty much what do you need him to do? Because yeah, hit and run you can definitely use with ranged attacks as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be a melee attack. So he's just kind of, good all-around character. Alright, so let's take a look at his miniature a little bit closer. We'll have to pull this down so we can zoom in. Look, there's good old President number 16. Double barrel shotgun. He's got an axe. Very, very fun. Alright, let's hop into our next president, which is president. We're going to go in numerical order. So then we jump up to president number 40. So if you're not familiar with who this is Ronald Reagan. So he's got Ronald's ray gun. Ronald's ray gun says once per turn you may use it. Spend an action to spend his a ranged action. You can spend a ranged action to shoot up to 40 spaces away, through walls, through doors, whatever. So it's kind of interesting. So he gets like a space gun, but he can basically use it to shoot through anything, at up to 40. And it's kind of nice. He's President 40, so his number 40 is in the number. And I think 40 spaces away is probably pretty much every single tile on a board, unless you're playing some crazily insane long game. Each tile's 9 long, so you'd have to have, 5 tiles long to hit less than 40? There are 3 tiles long, so you'd have to have, a lot to go over 40. Very, very interesting. That's a really fun ability. And so, that's the thing. Some of these games are overpowered. That's what makes these characters fun. In orange, we have +1 guy for range or 1 free ranged action. Obviously, give them bonuses to those. In red, we have +1 guy for range, +1 dice roll for range, or tough. Tough lets him ignore 1 damage. So he just basically wants to give him a ranged weapon, let him shoot his ray gun across the entire board every turn at whatever that weapon's ability is, and then either up your free action, up your die, up your dice roll, up your, however you want to do it. It's basically all you're going to do with him. And of course, we flip him over, he'll just have his pressed button version. Very, very interesting there. Alright, let's take a look at him. He's got like a outdoorsy look to him. Kind of like that, like he's a little bit more rugged. Got his hands on his shooters there, ready to go. It's kind of him being like, after he's a president, he's like, I'm ready to go down the trail. So that's cool. Alright. Next president. Dun dun dun. We have president number 42, Bill Clinton. So I love this. He's golfing. That's also makes this fun. Is some of these guys where they're not just they could have had them all in like suits and ties, looking like presidents. I like kind of give him a little bit different style to him. Yeah, he's out golfing here. So he's got the Horde ability, which I forgot what Horde does. Survivor can carry up to 2 extra equipment cards that are placed near the dashboard and considered to be in their backpack. So they can store some extra things. You'll see, can't really tell as much on his picture, but like in his golf club, he has some guns and other things sticking out of there, and he has some Molotovs in the bottom down here. So it's like, yes, he's wielding a golf club, but he's also strapped with his extra weapons. In orange, he has webbing and 1 free melee action. Webbing is great with Horde because it lets all weapons, all equipment cards in your backpack are considered to be in your hand. So he can have 2 extra weapons there, so he can swap between whatever ranged guns or other abilities he has. Dual wielding stuff, put his dual wield. If you have something to reload, you can fire a reload weapon, just stick it off to the side, use a different one. Also, the second edition campaign adds all-out weapons, which can break. So giving him more weapons where he can just load up on them and hoard them, and then go all out, and if they break, whatever, he's got more to spare. So very interesting there. And then Red, he has +1 damage for melee, +1 free ranged action, and charge. So he gets a couple different, how do you want to play him? He's kind of meant to be wherever you need him to be as well, kind of like Abe was. And charge says Survivor may use a skill once per turn for free. Move up to 2 zones containing at least 1 zombie, and then ends your normal movement. So unlike Blitz, where Blitz you spend an action point, but you get an action to use, this just lets you get an extra move. But it'll let him get in and do some of that melee damage really quickly. Or if he has like a ranged weapon that hits at 0 range, 0 to 1, he can shoot someone quick. So definitely some good combinations there. And then, of course, there's his button press on the back, so I'm not going to keep flipping them over for that. Let's take a look at this Gopher here. If nothing else, I'd probably put him on my team of sports stars that I'm starting, because we have baseball players, soccer players, hockey players, football players. Now I can add Gopher on there. Yeah, very, very cool. So if you just looked at this miniature, again, even like the round regular one, you wouldn't know necessarily just looking at the miniature that that's who it was. Just kind of cool. So you wouldn't necessarily associate him having to be a president. All right, our next one up is President number 43, George W. Bush. Yeah, so here's just rocking like regular vest one. Again, he just kind of looks like a survivor, which is what I really like. They kind of like played him off as just kind of being like, this is what they would maybe be doing at home, because at the current time he's not president, right? So he starts with Blitz, so he gets that pay 1 to move and get an attack action. In orange, +1 die for ranged and hit and run, and then in red, +1 die for range, 1 free range action, and Reaper ranged. Reaper is going to be used when assigned hits resolving actions of specific type. One of his hits can freely eliminating identical zombies. So if he takes out a walker, he can take out a free walker. He takes out a brute, he gets a free brute taken out. So this guy's all just about just doing ranged attacks. Blitzing to get with range to do damage, doing extra range, hit and run to like back up or get closer to your targets. But he's just going to be shooting stuff there. He's got a grenade. Yeah, definitely. I mean, solid ranged character, I would say. Got plenty of good stuff on there. Not much else to say. No super crazy other tactics. But sometimes you need them, like, sort of simpler characters that don't have, like, oh, he's supposed to be doing this and this. This guy just wants to stand back and shoot. If you're, like, just doing that, there you go. So there's his miniature. All right. 2 presidents to go. We got President number 44, Barack Obama. So it's kind of, you guys, like I've been talking about their looks, so they're getting, they had casual looks, except for Abe Lincoln, he's in a suit, but that's kind of his iconic look. Is you can see President 44 here, he's still dressed up, he's got like a suit on and everything, but you can kind of see he's kind of like, you know, unbuttoned, no tie, he's kind of like, he just left, like, the White House. It's just, you know, about the time this game came out, his term was just running out, or just barely done, or whatever. So, yeah, it kind of works for that. He's not quite as casual as the other characters out golfing or out hiking in the woods, but you can see he's, you know, not quite all dressed up all presidential. He has a fun ability to start with Brothers in Arms field measure. So Brothers in Arms means as long as he's in the same space as another character, both of them, or any survivor in that zone now gains this ability. And field mix says survivor can use a skill once during each of their turns. The survivor spends 1 action. They move up to 2 zones to a zone containing at least 1 survivor. They may then heal 1 wound from any survivor in a destination zone, including themselves. Normal movements apply. Field medic may use all survivors even if all survivors in the destination have no wounds. So at worst cases, it's a free, or it's an action, spend 1 action to move 2 zones. So at least it's an extra movement ability, as long as there's a survivor there. And you can heal that guy for free. Well, it's interesting because it's brothers in arms, so that means if he has to be standing in an area with somebody else, then he or that other player can now use that ability to move to the other location. So if he moves, heals someone, now either him or that other guy could use that again to keep bouncing between other people. Now he could give it to the other guy, they could move, they still have field medic until they get to that spot. So it's kind of an interesting chain effect, because he can essentially move somewhere, heal them, then if their turn is after his, or before his on the next turn, they can use that field medic now to move somewhere else and heal. And it does say up to 2 zones. 0 is up to 2 zones. So you can even stay in the same zone or move 1 zone and heal someone that way. So you can even have 2 guys sit in the area and just heal each other every turn. It's a very cool ability to start with. Not necessarily as power of just general medic, which does a free heal at the end of the turn. This at least lets you get at the beginning of the turn, but this also lets you move around more, so it's kind of a little bit more balanced that way. And then we have in orange 1 free range actor and Tactician. Tactician will be very helpful with field medic in that, because it lets him resolve his turn during any player phase before or after any other survivor's turn. So if he would normally have been the 4th player to act, he could choose to go first. If he would have been the first, he could choose to go last, see where everyone else lands, and then go afterwards and start healing people or doing whatever. But he could also be the 4th player and decide after the 1st player's turn to then jump up and go, because maybe that guy got really injured. He's like, no, let me come up and heal him, or whatever. It's just kind of neat. Gets a little bit of I want to say variability, but that's not the right word. Anywho. In red, he has +1 die for combat, +1 free combat, and brothers in arm, Born Leader. So again, kind of towards the end, he gets what you need him to do. And then Born Leader lets him give out a free action to another survivor to use as they please. This action used immediately. Then Born Leader resumes their turn. So that's to let anyone, he has to be in the space with someone, so this is kind of his weakness with field medic and Born Leaders. He has to be on the same space as another survivor to gain the ability. But the thing is, now he's with somebody else, they can use Born Leader on their turn, then he can use Born Leader on his turn, and then if they leave somewhere else, plus with field medic, that's actually kind of fun, because then you're already trying to be on the spot with other people as well. So that's definitely an interesting build for a character. Now, like, we just looked at President 43, I said he was pretty much straightforward, right? Just stand back, shoot people. That's all he wants to do. You don't need to, think about it too much. This character, you really need to plan your stuff. When do you want to use Tactician on? When do you want to use Born Leader or Field Medic? Because you have to be on the same spot. So you have to plan your turns out a little bit better. Because you can't be up front in the middle of the trenches necessarily. You can be, but you don't want to be where you have to worry about dying all the time. But you also don't want to be so far away from everybody else that these abilities never kick off. Very interesting. Alright, what do we got here for his? There, he's just standing there, he's cocking his gun, getting ready. Kind of like a little casual walk, too. He's just kind of I'll come help you. I'm ready. Let's go. Very, very cool. Alright, then our last El Presidente is President number 45. Donald Trump. Which, of course, is rocking a solid gold-looking AK-47 that, for some reason, he has an extra ammo clip tied to it. I guess it's one way to keep track of your extra ammo clips, but that's kind of different. So he starts with a special ability that only he has, called Trump Card, kind of like Ronald Reagan had his. Trump Card says once per turn, you may look at the top card of the equipment deck if it is a melee or ranged combat card, equipment. You may immediately use that action for free and then return it to the bottom of the deck. So if he flips over and he pulls out a pistol, he can do a free pistol attack. If he pulls out a baseball bat, he can do a free baseball attack. Now, this is a gambling, which is, I think, kind of the whole point of it, because you could draw an item card or a zombie card, and then they just don't do anything. So you don't even get the action out of it. Or you could draw a ranged attack or melee attack and not be within the correct range or melee distance to use it. So those are kind of the things there. But at least it's kind of an interesting thing. Like, hey, I can take the gamble, I can potentially do something really good, or maybe not. So it's an interesting idea. Then in orange, she has one free range action and taunt. Taunt is one of my favorite abilities. It lets you select zombies. They're a zone of zombies up to 2 spaces away. They have a clear path to you, so they're not blocked by doors or walls or whatever. They can get to you potentially after 2 actions, but it gives them a free action to try and get to you, and that pulls them away from any other survivors. It ignores them, so it's great to pull zombies away from your other survivors to help keep them alive, or to pull them into a trap, maybe pull them closer to your ranged attacks, or pull them into somebody else's zone that has melee so they don't have to spend extra actions. Very interesting idea. Or even separate groups of zombies. So if you have like two zones of zombies next to each other, you could pull one away from the other, so you don't have 2 of them back to back next to each other. Or the other direction, pull 2 groups together, pull one into the zone of another one by taunting them, and then Molotov the hell out of that entire zone. Especially if you have your presidential button, boom, just flip it over. Now this zone before, like one zone had an abomination and a brute, the other one had 10 runners and 5 walkers. Pull them all into one zone, nuke them all at one time. So definitely an interesting way to play it, taunt. Then red, +1 damage for range, +1 die for combat, and escalation combat. So he has lots of range stuff, so he's kind of expecting him to maybe sit back and shoot guys and taunt them and bring them towards him. But combat will give you the option to switch to melee if you need to. Escalation, though, is a fun ability as well. So escalation says survivor gains 1 extra die roll for consecutive actions of the specified type. The bonus is cumulative and applies until the end of the survivor's turn. The bonus is lost, however, if they perform any kind of action. So if he performs a ranged action and he shoots, actually I have a card right here. So let's say if he starts with the pistol here and he gets to roll 1 die, at the beginning, this is a starter equipment, he gets to roll 1. If he had escalation combat on his second action, he rolled 2 dice. His third action, he rolled 3 dice. And then even looking at this, if you started getting to get your 2 actions, you get 3 action, you get a 4th action there. So he could roll up to 4 times. And by that time, you have 5 dice rolling for this. So maybe not that great with a pistol. You probably hopefully have a better weapon later on. But as long as you don't do a move or a different action in between, you can keep making them things a little bit better and better. So that's definitely a fun ability. Alright, now let's look at his miniature. So there's a standing, and like I said, now, we had like Obama's was kind of like a leisure suit. His shirt was kind of open, a little bit like, more casual, but he's still dressed up. I mean, Donald Trump here's in his suit because he's the president. He does his tie, all that, So it's definitely, they kind of go from, how casual they are versus what level of president they are. Alright, so that is what we have. The other thing you can do with these guys is if you are playing Washington ZC campaign, you can swap one of these miniatures out just for the president that came in there instead. So instead of rescuing their generic Zombicide president, you could choose to try and rescue George Bush or Abe Lincoln instead, and use all of that character. And then you can either use that character's just generic companion abilities, or you could use this card here and give that as you're walking around with that blah blah blah. As you're walking around with this character as their companion, you could use their blue card abilities. So, like, if, for example, I swapped in President 45 here, I could use the Trump card ability now with my other character. So it's kind of a way to make that campaign a little bit more interesting there. I know the other thing that comes up with that being as a campaign mode is the red button. Some people say it should only be once per game, which is what it says, once per game. Other people say it should be once per campaign. So you can kind of play that depending on how hard it is. And you can also, other people recommend maybe don't playing a full team of these guys. And I think that's just because if you're playing a 6-player game and you have 6 guys that each have a built-in Molotov cocktail, that might make the game a little bit too easy. So maybe even if you're going to do that, limit it 1 button press per survivor per game. So let's say you play a campaign with all 6 of these presidents. Each one can use a button only once per campaign. So you have 6 total, but you can't have everyone launch it during one campaign. So President 45 launches his during the first campaign, then President 40 or President 16 would have to wait until one of the following campaigns to use theirs. You just flip them over so you know who hasn't used theirs. That's maybe how I play, just to maybe safe for ease, but in the end, it's always your game. Do what you want. So the very last thing I want to show off is not actually part of this set, but it is part of the Reboot Box, which is the Kickstarter exclusives for 2nd edition. So if you probably picked this up during Kickstarter, you'd have all of it. But I just want to show this off because it was a Presidential Golf Club, one of the exclusive item cards that came with that set, just because it thematically fit with the Bill Clinton. So range 0, 3 dice, 3 accuracy, 1 damage. Roll a 6 plus 1 damage for melee. So yeah, if you roll a 6, definitely does a lot more damage. And I think it kind of works very nice with, Clinton's card where he gets 1 free melee, charge, all that. So this is kind of a neat little thematic thing. Again, this does not come in this box. This is part of the Kickstarter 2nd edition Reboot Box. Just kind of showed off because it was a little bit thematic. Alright, so that is what we have for our Presidential Box. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the other Zombicide stuff. See you guys later. Bye.